James Joyce, Finnegan's Wake. River run, past even Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by a commodious vicus of recirculation back to Howth Castle and environs. Sir Tristram, Valet de Mar, for over the short sea, had passed and re-arrived from North Armorica, on this side the scraggy isthmus of Europe Minor, to wield or fight his peninsulate war. Not had Top Sawyer's rocks by the stream Oconee exaggerated themselves to Lawrence County, Georgios, while they went doubling their mumper all the time, nor a voice from a fire belowsed Mish Mish to Toffau Thart Patrick. Not yet, though Venice soon after, had a kid scad butt-ended a bland old Isaac. Not yet, though all's fair in Venecy, where Sozy Sesters wroth with Tone Nathangel. Brought a peck of Pasmouth head gem or shen brewed by Arclight, and Rory end to the Regenbrow was to be seen ring some on the aquaface. The fall, Babada Dalgara Kakatak or Karaman Raka Kana Brana Tana Rantu Thuna Trovar Hausen on Squan Tu Huda Horden Nenta Turnuk of a once Wall Street old bar is retailed early in bed and later on life down through all Christian minstrelsy. The great fall of the off-wall entailed at such short notice the pursuit of Finnegan, Earth's solid man, that the Humpty Hill-head of himself promptly sends an unquiring one well to the west in quest of his Tum toes, where their upturned pike point in place as at the knockout in the park where oranges have been laid to rust upon the green since Devlin's first love Livy. What classes What clashes here of wills gen won'ts, Austri gods gag and fishy gods, brekek, kekek, 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 cooks, ualu, kwanwa, where the Baudelaire's partisans are still out to master Malachus McGrains, and the Verdons catapulting the cannibalistics out of the white voice of Hooty Heed. Assagits and boomerangstrums, Sod's brood, be me fear, be me Emi fear. Sanglorian, save. Arms appeal with limes, appalling. Killy kill killy. Atoll. What chances Cudleys, what castles aired and ventilated, what Binimetalovs induced by which to go to cab solvers, what true feeling for their hay air, with what strong voice of false yiccup. Oh, hear, how hath sprawled met the dust the father of fornication's but, O my shining stars and body! How hath fain spanned most high heaven the sky sign of soft advertisement? But was is. Iscoot? Ere were sewers? The oaks of Ald now they lie in peat, yet elms leap where askas lay. Fall if you fall if you but will, rise you must, and none so soon either shall the farce for the nonce come to a set down secular finish. Big Master Finnegan, of the stuttering hand, Freeman's Moorer, lived in the broadest way imaginable, in his rushlet too far back for messages before Joshuan Judges had given us numbers, or Helviticus committed Deuteronomy. One yeasty day he sternly struck his tate in a tub for to watch the future of his fates, but ere he swiftly stuck it out again, by the might of Moses, the very water was evaporated, and all the Genesis had met their exodus, so that ought to show you what a pension joyfully chap he was. And during mightily odd years, this man of odd, cement and edifices in Toper's Thorpe piled bildung supra bildung pon the banks for the livers by the Soensgo. He had a little fiffy and he the little crather. Whither hair in Hans tuck up your part in her. Oft while Babulus, mither ahead, with goodly trowel and grasp and ill-roiled overalls which he habitacularly fancied, like Harun Childeric Egbert, he would calculate by multiplicables the altitude and multitude until he seesaw by neat light of the liquor, where twin 'twas born, his roundhead staple of other days to rise and undress masonry upstanded, joy grant it, a Walthworth of skyrscape of moist Eiffel hoith entirely. Originating from next to nothing and self-scalating the hymnals and all, higher architecture typolophical, with a burning bush abop of its bubble top, and with Lawrence O'Tooler's clittering up and tumbles of buckets clattering down. Of the first was he to bear arms and name, Wassily Buslav Reisenborg, his crest of heraldry, invert with ancillars troublant argent and a hegoic pursuivant horrid horned, his scutcheon fessed with arch of strung. Helio of the second, hooch is for husbandsman handling his hoe. Ho 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 ho! Mr. Finn, you're going to be a Mr. Finnegan! Come day morn, and oh your vine, Sunday's eve, ah, your vinegar! Ah ha ha ha! Mr. Fun, you're going to be fined again. What then, agent like, brought about that Tregody Thunder's Day this municipal sin business? Our cube house still rocks as ear witness to the thunder of his Arafat, Arafatus, but we hear also through successive ages that Chevy chorish of uncalified muzzle hymns that would blackguard eyes the white stone ever hurtle out of heaven. Stay us wherefore in our search for Titusness. O sustainer, what time we rise and when we take up to toothmick and before we lump down up on our leather bed and in the night and at the fading of the stars. For nod of the Nibier is better than wink to the Websanti. Other ways westways like that provost scoffing Badoon the Jebel and the Gypsy Sea. Crowfurb the crunch bracken shall decide. Then we'll know if the feast is a fly day. She has a gift of seek on sight, and she casually answers helpers. The dreamy dearie, heed. It may have been a misfired brick, as some say, or it might have been due to a collapsus of his back promises, as others looked at it. There extant by now 1001 stories, all told of the same. But so sore did Abite Ivy's hall-ired apples, what with the Walhall's horrors of roll-rights, car-hacks, stonigans, Chrisvanes, tram-trees, Vargo-ballers, autokinetons, hippohabilis, street fleets, tornitaxes, megafogs, circuses, and wardsmotes, and basilicurks, and aeropagods, and the hoist, and the jolly brule, and the peeler in the coat, and the Mecklenburg bitch bite at his ear, and the Merlinborough burrocks, and his 4 old porecourts, the boar and the moor, and his blight black working stacks at 12 pins a dozen, and the newbie buses sledging along Safety First Street, and the dairy jellybees snooping around Tell No Taylor's corner, and the fumes and the hopes and the strumpet hump of his vile indigenous Rome keepers, home sweepers, dome creepers, Thurum and fancy mud, Murramud, and all the uproar from all the off reefs. A roof for and a reef for Hugh Butt under his bridge suits Tony. One morning Phil filched tippling full, his Howdfield heavy. His hoddet did shake. There was a wall, of course, in erection. Dim. He started from the ladder. Damn! He was dud. Dumb. Master Batum. Master Bad Tom. When the mon marries, his lute is all along, for whole the world to see. Shies? I should she. McCool, what a wide deed ye die, of a trying thirsty morning, sobs they sighed at Finnegan's Kersmor's wake, all the Hollivans of the nation, prostrated in their consternation and the doer dismally profusive plethora of ululation. There were plums and grooms and sheriffs and sithers and raiders and cinnamon too and the all gind in which the shout most joviality. Agog and Magog, and the round of them agrog, to the continuation of that celebration until Han and Hunnigan's extermination. Summoned kink and chorus, more cankin keening, belling him up and filling him down. He's stiff, but he's steady, is Priamolum. 'Twas he was the dascent gay labouring youth, sharpen his pillow scone, top up his beer. Erewith in this war would ye hear such a din again. With the deep brofundigs and the dusty fidelios, they laid on broad dawn a Langstaff's bed, with a bocalypse of Finsky for his feet, and a barrel load of Genesis o'er his head. T the total of the fluid hang the twaddle of the fuddled, oh. Hurrah! There is but young Glebe for the owl globe wheels in view which is tautologically the same thing. Well, him a being so at the flounder of his bulk like an overgrown babbling, let we peep, see, at home, well see, PG, ought he ought, platter plate. Hum. From Shopalis to Bailiwick, or from Ashton to Baranout, or from the by the banks to Roundahead, or from the foot of the bill to Irglant's eye, he calmly extensiles, and all the way a horn. From fjord to fjell, his bay winds, obidos, shall wait him rock abound. Wah, ah, ah, wah, wah. And swim, swam, swum in all the Libby long night, the dale, dale, dappling night, the night of blurry bells, his flit of flute and tricky trudges. O Carina, O Carina. Wake him, with her Isavan Essavans and her Patterjack Martins about all them ins and ouses, tilling a teal of a tum, telling a toll of a tarry turdy tobbling, grace before glutton, for what we are, gifts a gross if we are, about to believe. So pull the bag and pass the kiss for cross sake, O men, so shy us. Grand Pupus is fallen down, but Grand Pupus is fallen down, but Grinny spreads the board. Weighs on the joint of a desh, Finfo fum the fush, weighs be his bacon head, a loaf of sing pantry's Kennedy's bread, and weighs hitched to the top in his tail, a glass of Danu O'Donnell's famous old Dublin ale. But oh, as you would quaff off his fraud stuff and sink teeth through that pith of a flower-white body, behold of him a behemoth, for he is nowhere more. Finish. Oh, the photograph of the western scene, almost Rubicon Salsmasal are, ancient from out the ages of the Aga- Agap- Agapemades. No, I oh, Agapemonides. Agapemonides. He is Smolton. He is Smoltnen are missed, well becanned and packed away, so that the meal's dead off for some nen. Schluck, Schleiss, and good riddering. Yet, yet may we not. Yet may not. Excuse me. Yet may we not see still the Brontiakin form outlined as slumbered, even in our own night time by the sedge of the troutling stream that Bronto loved and Brunto has a lean on. Hicipat idealis, apud libertinum parvulum. What if she be in flags or flitters, reekeriags or Sunday echoes with a mint of minds or beggar a pennyweight? Arrah, sure, we all love little Annie Rooney, or we mean to say, love little Anna Rainey. When under her brella, mid piddle med puddle, she Annie goes dancing by. Yo, Brontalone slaps, ya snores. Upon Ben Heather, and Seeple I so too, the craniac had on him, caster of his reasons. Peer you there Peer Yuthner and Jan missed. Wooth, his clay feet, sworded in verdigras, stick up stark where he last fell in him, by the mund of the magazine wall where our Maggie seen all, with her sisterine shawl, while over against the bells aliens behind ill 60, all loud ill. Bags eyes of the fort, bomb, tara bomb, lurked beyond bushes the sight of the lifing and weight of the upjock and Hawkums. Hence, when the clouds roll by, Jamie, a proud's eye view is enjoyable of our moundings mass. Now, Wallenstone National Museum, with, in some greenish distance, the charmful Waterloose country, and the two quite white villagettes who here show of themselves so gigglesome mince the foliages, the Pritilies, penetrators are permitted in the Museum fee. Welsh and the Paddy Patkinses, one Shellank. Redis members, invalids of old guard find pussy pram to sate the sort of the rut. For her passkey supply to the janitrix, the mistress Cath, tip. This is the way to the music room. Mind your hats going in. Now yez are in the Willingdon music room. This is a Prussius gun. This is a French. Tip. This is the flag of the Prussius. The cap and the sorcerer. This is the bullet that binged the flag of the Prussius. This is the French that fire on the bull that banged the flag of the Prussius. Salute the crossgun. Up with your pike and fork. Tip, Bullsfoot. Fine. This is the triple run hat of the Lipolium. Tip Lipolium hat. This is the Willingdom on the same white horse, the Cockenhop. This is the big Strauder Willingdom, grand and magnetic in the golden spurs and the iron ducks, and the quarterbath woody shoes, and his Magnus garters, and his Bangkok's best in Gollier's galoshes, and his pull upon dear Eason Wattrose. This is big white arse. Tip, this is the three Napoleon Boyne crouching down in the living ditch. This is an in Miskilling Inglis. This is my Scotcher Grey. This is a Davy, stooping. This is the bog Lepolium murdering the Lepolium bag. A Gallagher's argument. This is a petty Lepolium boy that was neither bag nor bug. A sigh, a sigh. Tuchol Fitz Tumash, Dirty McDyke, and Harry O'Hurry. All of them Arminus Varminus. This is Delian Alps. This is Mount Tevel. This is Mount Tipsy. This is the Grand Mon Injun. This is the crime line of the Alps, hoping to shelter stock the three Lepoliums. This is the Ginnies with their legahorns fainting to read in their handmaid's book of astrology while making their war undishes the willing doan. The Ginnies in a cooing in her hand, and the Ginnies is a raving in her hair, and the Willingdon get the band up. This is Big Willingdon Memorial Telescope. Wounder worker upsides on the flanks of the Ginnies. 6 caliber horsepower. Tip. This is me. This is me Belcham sneaking his Philippi out of his most awful grimmest sunshat Cromwelly. Looted. This is the Ginnies Hastings dispatch for the irrigate the Willingdon. Dispatch and then red lines to cross the short firth of me Belgium. Ya. Leaper or Thor, fear sicken. Field gaze thy tiny fowl. Hugacting. Nap. That was the tic-tacs of the Ginnies for to Fontenoy the Willingdon. She. The Ginnies is Gillis eggin courting all the Lepoliums, and the Lepoliums is gone boycottin' crazy onto the Willingdon, and the Willingdon get the band up. This is Bode Belcham, bonnet to Busby, breaking his sacred word with a ball up to his ear, the Willingdon. This is the Willingdon's Herald Dispatch back. Dispatch deployed on the region's rare of me Belgium. Salamangra. Aye! Cherry Ginnies, fig tree you. Damn Fairy Ann, vouch Willingdon. That was the first joke of Willingdon, tick for tack. This is me, Belgium in his 12-mile cowchooks. Wheat, sweet, and stamp forth foremost, fooding the camp for the Ginnies. Drink a sip, drink a sup, for he's a sooner buy a Guinness than he'd stale snore stout. This is Rucius Paul. This is a trench. This is Mistletops. This is Cannon Fodder with the poppy nose. After his 100 days indulgence, this is the blessed. Tara's witters. This is Ginnies and the Bonnas Bon Bluches. This is Lepoliums and rowdy houses. This is the Willingdon. By the splinters of cork, order fire. Tonnerre, bullseer, play. This is cavalry. This is Floodens. This is the Sulphurines in action. This is their Mobley. This is Panic Burns. I'll meet a gad. Are these to lose? This is Willingdon cry. Brum. Come brum. This is Ginny's cry. Underwetter. Goat strip fin lambs. This is Ginny running away to their outster lists down a bunker shields, with a nippy nip and a trippy trip so airy, for their hearts right there. Tip. This is me, Belgium's Tanko silver plate for kitchen the crepes in the cool of his canister. Pour the pay. This is the Bismarck of the Marathon Mary of the Ginnies they left behind them. This is the Willingdon Brantonlish, the same memorial telescope. Sophie Kipo for his royal devotion on the runaway Ginnies. Gambury Stella Porca, Delaveris Fimieris. This is the pettiest of the Lepoliums. Toffee thief. That spy on the Willingdon from his big white horse, and the Cappenhope. Stonewall Willingdon is an old Maxie Montremenny. Lepoliums is nice hung bushelors. This is Hyena Hennessy laughing aloud the Willingdon. This is Lipsig Dooley krieging the funk from the Hennessy. This is the This is the Hindu Shimar Shin between the Dooley boy and the Hennessy. Tip. This is the Wixie old Willingdon picking up the half of the three-foiled hat of Napoleon's from out the bloodfilth. This is the Hindu waxing Ranjamata from a bomb shube. This is the Willingdon hanking the half of the hat of Napoleon's up to the tail of the buckside of his big white horse. Tip. That was the last joke of Willingdon. Hit. This is the same white horse of the Willingdon, Culpenhelp, waggling his talio scrup with the half of a hat of Napoleon's to insult of the Hindu sea-boy. Hinye, bull's rag, foul! This is the sea-boy. Madrasatras, up, jump, and pump him, cry to the Willingdon. Up, Pukaru, Puka Yarp. This is the Willingdon. Barnstable gentleman, tenders his matchbox to the Corsican Shimmershin. Bowsucker, you stead. This is the Dooferim, sea-boy below the whole of the half of the hat of the Lepoliums off the top of the tail on the back of big white horse. Tip. Bullseye! Game! How Copenhagen ended. The way of the music room. Mind your boots going out. Phew! What a warm time we were in there, but how Keeling is here by the airabouts. We know where she lives, but you must not tell no one for the lamp of Jig-a-lantern. It's a candle little house of a month in one windies, down a down, high down a down, and numered Coantalamine, and such reasonable weather too. The wagrant winds as was round the pilt downs and on every blasted nolly rock. If you can spot 50, I spy 4 more. There's that gnarly bird gathering. A run a little, do a little, pray a little, pour a little, wipe a little, kicks a little, serve a little, eat a little, whine a little, ken a little, half a little, peff a little, nardy bird. A very tableland of bleak barred fields. Under his 7 Rothschilds lies one, Lumproar. His glav tossidum, scud ontersid, our pigeons pair are flown for North Cliffs. The 3 of crows have flapped it, suddenly, cracking of debacle to the craters of the sky whence tributes answer. Well, 'tis well. She never comes out when Thon's on shower on then Thon's flash with his Nixie girls, or when Thon's blowing tombs cracks down the gales of Thon. No, Nubo, no. Neblas on you live. Her would be too moochy a freet. Of burly malig and bendumarolingness, on all the deed and the woe, fee fo fum! She just does hopes till buys will be buys. Here, and it goes to appear now, she comes, a peace fugle, a parody bird, a berry pot mother, a pring pick in the a pringle pick in the ill and skippy, with pee-wee and pow-wows and beggy-baggy on her bicky-backy and a flick-flack fleck flingling its pixie-lighting packs, humor bows picking here, peckling there, pussy plunder pussy. But it's the Armatides too nigh, Militopukos, and Tumorn we wish for a muddy kissmans to the minutia workers, and there's to be a gorgeous truce her happiness child are everywhere. Come Nebo me and Suso sing the day we sally bright. She's burrowed the coacher's headlight the better to pry. Who goes? Cute goes see or and shoe saroon, and all spoiled goods go into her knapsack, cartridges and rattling butlins, nappy spatties and flasks of all nations, clavicures and scampulars, maps, keys, and wood piles of halfpennies and moonlit brooches with bloodstained breeks in 'em, boast in night garters and masses of shoesoots and nickly knacks and foder all Michael and a lugly parson of cates and howitzer moochers and midgets and maggots, ills and else with lofts of toffs and plurs of bells, and the last sign that come from the heart, Bucklead, and the fairest sign the sun saw that search, with kiss Chris, kiss cross, undo lives end, slain. How bootiful and how true to wife of her, when strengthfully forbidden, to steal our historic presents from the past post propheticals, so as to will make us all lordy heirs and lady maidennesses of a pretty nice kettle of fruit. She is living in our midst of debt and laughing through all floors for us. Her birth is uncontrollable, with a naperon for her mask and her sabots kickin' arias. So sare, so solly. If yous ask me and I sack you, how? Gricks may rise and tracers fall, there being 2 sights forever a picture. For, in the byways of high improvidence, that what makes life work leaving and the world's itself for sitters to sit in. Let young women run away with the story and let young men talk smooth behind the butler's back. She knows her night's duty while Luntum sleeps. Did ye save any tin? Says he. Did I what? With a grin says she. And we all like a married Anne because she is mercenary, though the length of the land lies under liquidation. And there's ne'er a hairbrow nor an eyebush of the glabrous place of Herrschaft Wardewelter. She'll loan a Vesta and hire some peat, and sarch the shores or cockles to heat, and she'll do all a turf woman can to piff the business on. Paff! To puff the blaziness on. Poff. And even if Humpty shall fall frumply, times is awkward again in the beard boozlum of all our grand remonstrancers, there'll be eggs for the breakers come to mourn him, sunny side up with care. So true it is that there wears a turnover the tay is wet too, and when you think you catch sight of a hind, to make sure you're cocked by a hen. Then, as she is on her behaviorite job of acquaintance bandy, fruiting for firstlings and taking her tithe, we may make our review of the 2 mounds to see nothing of the himples here as elsewhere, by 6s and 7s, like so many he-gills and collines, sit on a ruined scent breached and some protrick, in their switch-off satins and their trough-off tights, praying Wharton's folly. As a tree pretty of the blanco in a perk, stand up, Mikos, make strake for Minas, By order, Nicholas Proud, we may see and hear nothing if we choose of the short-legged Bergens off Corkhill, or the Beggarmores of Arbor Hill, or the Bergam Gambles of Summerhill, or the Big and Sallys of Misery Hill, or the country-bossed Burgons of Constitution Hill, though every crowd has its several tones, and every trade has its clever mechanics, and each harmonical has a point of its own. Olaf's on the rise, and Ivor's on the lift, and Citrix placed between them. But all they are, they're scraping along to sneeze out a likelihood that will solve and salve life's robulus rebus, hopping around his middle like kippers on a griddle. Oh, as he lays dormant from the Macroborg of Holdhog to the Microberg of Pied de Port. Behold this sound of Irish sense. Really? Here English might be seen. Royally, one sovereign poon to the pattery pence. Regally, the silent speaks the scene. Fake. So this is you Dublong. Hush, hush, caution, Echoland. How charmingly exquisite. It reminds you of the outwashed Engraver that we used to be blaring on the blotch wall of his inn-kept home. Use they? I am sure the chapel shoveler with a musical chocolate box. Mary Mitchell is listening. I say the remains of the outworn Gravemere where used to be buried the Tolmans of the Incubus. Used to be? He is only pretending he is only pretending to the Stugling at the Jubilee harp from a second existed listener, Fury Farley. It is well known. Lock for himself and see the old butt new. Dublin WKOO. Here? By the mausoleum wall. Fim 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 fim. With a grand fun for all. Fum 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 fum. 'Tis optophone which autophanes. List Whetstone's magic lyre. They will be tuggling forever. They will be likening for olive. They will be for tumbling for over. The harpsichord shall be theirs for olives. For there thereafter, for things therefore, saith our hereditary Mammon Lucius in his grand old histor, his, Historiorum, wrote near Boriorum, bluest book in Bales and Owls, featured in Deflinarski ne'er shall fail tiv helder smokes, and cloudweed airs ill sal pal. And here now they are. The fear of Titoites, Inum Adar, a Bulman surmounted upon an alderman. Aye, aye, Doom, Nizam, a shoe on a pure old wobbin. Ah, ho, Trum, 'tis an Auburn maid, O'Brien a bride, to be desarded. A dear, Quadlibus, Marshavan, a pen no weightier than o'er a pole post, and so and all. Stuck off. So, So, idlers wind turning pages on pages as innocents with anaclate play pop by antipop, the leaves of the living and the bulk of the deeds and knowledge from themselves timing the cycles of events grand and national, bring Fastlewide to pass how? 1132 AD. Men like to ants or emmets wondering upon a groot wath walfisk which lay in a runnel, blubby wares a pat oblanium. 566 AD. On Balfire's might of this year after deluge, a crone that had a wickered kish for to hail dead turves from the bog look it under the blay of her kish as she ran for to satisfy her curiosity, and Beamy saw, but she found herself sack full of swart goody quickenshoom and small elegant brogues, so rich in sweat, blurry works at Hurlsford. Silent. 566 AD. At this time it fell out that a brazen-locked damsel grieved Sobrasalas, because that puppet, her minion, was ravished of her by the ogre Puropius Pius. Bloody war is in Balliagclaclabally. 1132 AD. Two sons at an hour were born until a good man and his hag. These sons called themselves Caddy and Primus. Primus was a santry man and drilled all decent people. Caddy went to Winehouse and wrote a piece of farce, bloody words for Dublin. Somewhere, apparently, in the Ginango gap between Antediluvius and Anadominant, the copyist must have fled with his scroll. The billy flood rose, or an elk charged him, or the sultrip with white from the excelsissimus Emprian, bolt in some. Earth spake, or the Danaman Gallus banged pan the blitty Dunran. The scribicide then and there is let off under old code with some fine covered by 6 marks or 9 pins and metalmen for the sake of his labored dross. Well, it will be only now and again in our rear of our era, as an upshoot of military and civil engagements, that a genicure was let on to the scaffold for taking that same fine sum covertly by meddlement with the drawers of a neighbor's safe. Now, after all that far-fetched and peregrine or dignant or clarelift where our ears, eyes of the darkness, from the tomb of Liber Lividus, and to, how piously ironical, all dimmering dunes and glimmering glades, self stretches afore us in Fredland's plain. Lean neath stone pine the pastor lies with his crook. Young pricket by pricket's sister nibbleth on returned viridities. Amid her rocking grasses the herb trinity shams lowliness. Skyup is of ever grey, thus too for donkeys' ears. Since the bouts of Hebar and Herriman, the cornflowers have been staying at Ballyman. The dusk rose has choosed our goats down hedges. Two lips have pressed together then by sweet rush. Townland of twined lights, the white horn and the red thorn have fairy gay the May valleys of Knockmaroon, and though for rings around them during a chiliad of perihiligangs, the Fomorians have brittled the tooth of the Danes and the Oxmen have been pestered by the firebugs, and the joints have thrown up jerry building to the Cavanzes, and little on the green is child's father to the city. Year, year, and laughters! These back-sealing buttonholes have quadrilled across the centuries and whiff now waft to us, fresh and made of all smiles as on to the eel of Killalhoo. The babblers with their Thangus vein have been, Confusium hold them, they were and went, thigging thugs were and how and em song toms were and comely norgals were and polyfool fiancies. Men have thawed, clerks have sursumed, the blonde has sought of the brune, else kiss thou may, me and Carrie Piggy? And the Dunsel dames have countered with the hellish fellows, who ales Toncato as fists of dumb Bill Silly, and they fell upon one another, and themselves they have fallen. And still now a nights and by nights of yore do all bold floras of the field to their shy fond lovers say only, call me ere I will to thee, and but a little later, pluck me whilst I blush. Well may they wilt marry and profusely blush, be troth, for that saying is as old as the Howits. Leave a whale a while in a wheelbarrow, isn't that truth I'm tellin' ye? To have fins and flippers and shimmy and shake. Timmy can tempt hare, tempting Tim, flippity flippity fleepow. Hop. In the name of Annam, this Carl and the cup cheap in pelted thongs, a parth alone who the Joe bigger big he, for shapen his pig-made hogshead, shrunk his plod's foot. He hath lock-toes, this short shins, and oblioed pectoral, his mammon muscles most mysterious. It is slaking nunchin out of something's brain pan. He Meseemeth the Dragon Man. He is almost on the keep fief by here, is come stickle sack soon, be it junipery or fee brewery. Marix or Alabril are the ramping rights of prorios and frorios. What a coo-hair sort of a man. It is evident that the Micken daddy, let we overstep his fire defenses in these crawls of slit-sucked marrow-bones. Cave! He can preposterous, the pillory way to Herculosus pillar. Come on, fool Porterful. Hosiered women blanc monk sewer. Excuse us, Charlie Guy. You tolerate Dunsk. And you tolkeft Scougen. You spaghetti Angles. You phonio saxo. Clear also. 'Tis a jute. Let us swap hats and exchange and excheck a few strong verbs, weak which other, yap yazard abast the bluty creeks. Jute! Utah! Mutt! Muck's pleasured. Jute! Are you Jeff? Mutt! Some hards. Jute! But you are not Jeff Mute. Mutt! No ho! Only an utterer. Jute! Whoa! What is the mutter with you? Mutt! I became a stummer. Jute! What a how to dibble ding to because, how mutt? Mutt! But the buttle, sir. Jute! Whose pottle wherein? Mutt! The inns of dung tarf where Usid used to be he. Jut, you think your voice are almost inedible to me. Become a bit skin more wiseable, as if I were you. Mutt, has is, hast and see. Buru you serb. I tremble from wrath in mine minds when I rim. Jut, one eye gone black, bisons is bisons. Let me for all your haste and see, cross your qualm with drink guilt. Here have sylvan coil a piece of oak. Guy's high is good for you. Mert. Louis, how wouldn't I not know it? The intellable great cloak of Cedric's silky shag. Seed mealy faulty rice is for one dabbling bar. Old Grilsy Grousy. He was poached on in that existential spot. here where the liveries, monomark, where the misers moony, Minnican pass. Just simply because his taciturn pretells are wrong story shortener, he dumped the whole borough of rubbages to soil on here. But just how a punninson and here in the brook cells by the river pool. Jut load all marshy. Wid wad for a noise like. But Samuel with a bull on a clump turf. Rooks roarum rex room. I could snore to him of the spummy horn. With his woolsy side and by the neck I am such an on did Brian Dovlin. Jut boiled dorn and raw honey on when I can burely forstand a weird from Struck to Finnick in such a pat what of your Rotterdam rotter. Unheard of and unseen. Gut after meal. See you doomed. Mutt. Quite a green bus of a sec, walk a dun blink round with the Alpc, and you skull how old ye plain of the Alters, Humphrey and ours, where one to where Wimbrel appear where all the saltings, where will be sighted of all the Eastman, whereby a droit of secondary ice flow was from the end of a big name from the fish named punct. Let Aram marriage marriage to races switch and prack, more the ring rue, hither cratching easterds, they are insurgents. Hence cool at Elb they requiesce. Countlessness of life stories have never fallen by this plague. Flick as flowflakes, litters from aloft, like a west wizard of all world worlds. Now are all tuned to the mound. Isches to isches, erd from erd, pride, oh pride thy prize. Doot, stench, moot, fiat foot, here and under lifey, large by the small and every night's life also the strange. Babylon, the great grand hotel, with tittle house, alp on earwig, drunk on ild. Like is equal to an equal in the sound cemetery which these leave his love. Jut, Zmod, Mat, mentally by the fierce wave behooted, Dispon sung, and then Ancestros bound has swallowed up them all. This orth of years is not save brick dust and being humans the same roturns. He who runes may read it on all fours, Oxtal and Westal trek still crumbling. Sell me soon the fare for Humblin. Humblady fair, but speak it off so swiftly, Moulder, be on your wished. Juice, wished? Mutt. The grand forficals with how many the fay? Jut. How? Mutt. Here's the vicning grab. Jut. Wad? Mutt. Oh, Justin J. You? Jut. Then Thorstor struck. Thing mud. Stoop. If you are absent-minded to this claybook, what curious of signs, please stoop, in the alphabet? Can you read, since we now had it out already, its world? It is the same told of many missignations on misseg, missegnations on missegnations. Takel, they lived and laughed and loved and left. Forsin, thy thing dumb is given to the Medes and Parsons. The Metatale, a loss and again of all Heidenberg in the days when head and clouds walk the earth. And the ignorance implies the impression that knits knowledge that finds the name form, that wets the wits, that convey context, that sweetens sensation, that drives desire, that adheres to attachment, that dogs death, that bitches birth, that entails the insurance of existentiality. But with the rush out of his navel, reaching the Raridos of Ramsabam, the terriculus vividly on view this, queer and it continues to be quaky, a hatch, a zelt, an air share, a porquoise of which was to cassay the earth crust at all hours, furwards, bagawads, like Yaxen at the turnfat. Here say figurines bellicose arming and mounting, mounting and arming bellicose figurines see here. Futhork, this little F&G is for a fire thing called flint for all, face at the eaves, oh I fay, face at the waist, ho you fee, up wap and dump 'em. Freeze! To freeze? When a part so petit does duty for the hollows, we soon grow to use of an alpha a bit. Here, please to stoop, are sovereign cued petite peas of a quite of a pecuniar interest in us little, as they are the pellets that make the tom-tummies pay roll. Right Ragnar rocks, and with these rocks, orangutangos wrangled rough and right wrong. Wisha white a thuh, thick as for thorn that stuck in his toil like thumb full straight a thrust for vengeance. What a nice old mess it all makes. A midnight horde of objects. Olives, beets, camels, dollies, afrids, beaties, Cormacs, Daltons, all its eggs, oh stoop to please, are here. Creakish from age and all now quite obsolete. All old waldy wobblers, how'd worth a wipe of grass. Tss, see the snake worms either side. Our Durblin is swarming in sneaks. They came to our island from Triangular Two-Chair, beyond the White Prairie, ratted up in the midst of the cargon of prohibited pomifrux, but along landed Paddy Whippingham and his garbage cans caught at the creeps of them pricker of the hose the men could quick up what's that's. Some divide and some lot, but the tally turns round the same Balthazan, Gracketeers and Bottleaugers. Axon, thwaxon, thrax, X and Ys, one by one placed by one be the three ditto and one before. Two nurses, one make a plausible free and it and behind. Starting off with a big bois and a three-legged calvers and an evergreen jadisses with a message in their mouths, and 100 field uneven weight of lib, liberum Librum Rumque to con and weak until all horrors eve, with a Neanderthal tale to unfurl with what and to the squatter and anti-squatter and post-prone anti-squatter. To say too as to be every Tim, Nick and Larry, sons of the sod, sons, little sons, yea, and lay little sons, when use is not to be, every Sue, Sis, and Sally of us, Dugsters of none, accusative and sire, demodam to infinities. True, there was in Nilla's Diebas as yet no lump and papier to the waste and might mountain pen, still grown for the mices to let flee. All was of was as all was of ancientry. You gave me a boot, signs on it, and I ate the wind. I quizzed you a quid, with for what? And you went to the quad. But the world mind is, was, and will be writing its own runes forever, man on all matters that fall under the ban of our infrarational senses, for the last milch camel, the heart vein throbbing between the eyebrows, has still to moor before the tomb of his cousin Charmaine, where the date is tethered by the palm that's heirs. But the horn, the drinking, the day of dead are not now. A bone, a pebble, a ramskin. Chip them, chap them, cut them up always. Leave them to Tara cook in the mothering pot, and Guten Morgen with the scrum non charter. Tinting fast and great primer must once for omnibus step rubric read out of the wordpress, else is there no virtue more in a Coran. An Alcoran, for that the rapt one warns, is what paper is made of hides and hints and misses and prints, till you finally, though not yet and like, meet with the acquaintance of Mr. Typus, Mistress Tope, and all the little tip-toppies. Filstup, so you need hardly spell me how every word will be bound over to carry thee score and 10 top tipsical readings throughout the book of Dublin's Jinned. May his forehead be darkened with mud who would sunder, till Dolleth Mahomama who opted it closest there of the door. Cry not yet. There's many a smile to Nundum, with sighty maids per man, sir, in the park so dark by candlelight. But look what you have in your hand self. The movables are scrawling emotions, marching all of them ago in pit-pat and zing-zang for every busy eerie wig's a bit of a Tory tale to tell. One's upon a time, and two's behind their lettuce leap, and three's among the scrubbly beds. And the chicks picked their teeths, and the donkey he began. You can ask your ass if he believes it. And so cuddly me only wallops he have heels, that one of a wife with faulty barnets, for then was the age when hoops ran high, of a Noarch and a chopwife, of a palm full grave and a family of levity, or of golden youths that wanted gelding, or of what the mischief miss made a man do, while Malmarried he was reverson gassed by the frisk of her frasks and her pretty pertique. May Fay? She's Legay the snaky woman. From that trippery toe expinctic pelic, veal Valentine Valentine eyes. She's the very best Winnie blows nay on good. Flowen ho war. So it's sure it was not we, but lay it easy, gentlemen. We are in rearing of a Norweg. So weeny beany veeny teeny. Comes ye see. Hetwes if it newt. Listen, I am doing it. Hark, the corn and treats, and the lark notes brittle. It was of a night, late, lang time agone, in an old stain eld, when Adam was delvin and his madamine spinning water silts, when Mulk Mounty Naughty Man was ever bully and the first leal ribber robber that ever had her ain way everybody to his love-saking eyes, and ever Billy lived along with everybody else, and Jarl Van Hoother had his burnt head high up in his lamb house, laying cold hand. Stop growling at me. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah, time loss. Was of night, late, lang time agone, in old Stain Eld, when Adam was delvin and his madamine spinning water stilts, when Mulk Mounty Naughty Man was every bully and the first leal River robber that ever had her own way, everybody to his love-taking eyes, and every Billy lived along with everybody else. And Jarl Van Hoother had his burnt head high up in his lamp house, laying cold hands on himself. And his two little Jiminies, cousins of Orne, Christopher and Hilary, were kick-a-heeling their dummy on the oilcloth floor of his armory, castle and earthen house. And B. Dermot, who come to the keep of his inn, only the niece of his in-law, the prank queen. And the prank queen pulled the rosy one and made her wit for an the dower. And she lit up in fireland was ablaze, and spoke she to the dower in her petty Perusian, mark the lens. Why do I am a look alike a puss of Port-au-Prince? And that was how the skirmishes began. But the dower Anne worded her grace and Duch Nassau. Shut! Sorry Grace O'Malice kidnapped up the Jiminy Christopher into the Shandy Western Esty rain. And Yalvin Hoother warlist after her with soft dove's gall. Stop, Deef, stop, come back to my and stop. But she swore to him, unlikelihood. And there was a brain a while that the same Sabbath of night of falling angels somewhere in Ariel. And the prank queen went for her 40 years' walk in Torlamund, where she washed the blessings of the love spots off the Jiminy with soap Sulliver Suttles, and she had her four owners, masters, for to touch him his tickles, and she converted him to the unshore all good, and became a lutterman. So then she started to rain and to rain, be Red Tum, and was back again at Jarl Van Hoother's in a brace of sammers in the Jiminy with her and a pinafron, least at night, at another time. And where did she come but to the bar of his Bristolry? And Jarl Van Hoother had his Barthola bruised heels drowned in his cellar malt, shaking warm hands with themselves and the Jiminy Hilary and the dummy in their first infancy were below on the tear sheet, wriggling and coughing, like Broder and Hister. And the prank queen nipped the pally one and lit up again, and the red cocks flew flackering from the hill combs. And she made her witter before the wicked, saying, Mark the twy, why do I am a look-alike two poss of porter peace? And, shut, says the wicked, hand-wording her majesty. So her majesty if thought to set down a jiminy, and took up a jiminy on all the lilla pathways to women's land, she rain. And Yalvin Hoother bleathered after her with a loud Finnegale. Stop, dumb, stop, come back with my earring, stop. But the queen, but the prank queen swore it did. I swore it did. I'm liking it. And there was a wild old Granawell that Lawrencey night of star shooting somewhere in Ariel. And the prank queen went for her 40 years walk in Turnlamine, and she punched the curses of Cromwell with the nail of a top into the chimney, and she had four larksical Monatrix to touch him his tears, and she perverted him to the one certain all secure, and he became a Christian. uh, yeah, that makes sense. So then she started raining, and a pair of changers bedumped her. She was back again at Yalvin Hoother's in the Larry Hills with her under her abramate. And why would she halt at all, if not by the ward of his mansion home of another nice lace for the third charm? And Yalvin Hoother and his hurricane hips up to his pantry box, ruminating in his old forest stomachs. Dare oh dare. And the Jiminy Tugger trees and the dummy were below in the watercloth, kicking and spitting and roguing and pogwing, like knave paltry and knave bride and in their second infancy. And the prank queen picked a blank and lit out, and the valleys lay twinkling. And she made her wittest in front of the archway of triumph, asking, Mark the tris, why do I am a look alike these poss of porter piece? But that was how the skirmishes enduped. For, like the Campbells, a coming with the fork lance of lightning, Yalvin Hutherbarnes himself, the old terror of the dames, came hip hop handy hap out through the pike open archway of his three shut-in castles, in his broad ginger hat and his civic collar, and his alabuff hemmed and his bull bragging socks and gloves, and his lad broke breeks and his cutting gut bandolier, and his fur-framed penucular cumboats like a rude yelling Grubline, orange man and his violet indignation, to the whole length of the strength of the Bowman's bill. Oh, and he clapped his rude hand to his easy hitch, and he ordered in his thick speck spick for her to shut up, shop dappy, and the duppy shut the shattercup. Parked huskin runa barga granin noda guaca gorla orga morga gremit tunda earthen rumen thuna radifalifita libuma luna nuna kunun. and they all drank free. For one man in his armor was a fat match always for any girl's undershirts, and that was the first piece of alliterative porthery in all the phlegmed fluty flopsous world. Out Kersey the Tyler made a sweet unclose to the Norwelian capital. Soft foreshot thou see, Batoon yea and be, the prank queen was to hold her dummy ship and the Jiminies was to keep the peace we wave, and Van Hoother was to get the wind up. Thus the hearsomeness of the burgher felicitates whole of the polis. O Phoenix culprit! I Nicky Lau Malo comes Michaelmas bonum. Hill Rill, ones and company, belated, less to be proud of. Breast hide and best ride. Only for that these will not breathe upon Nornson or Irinian, the secrest of their so closeness. Quarley Silex, Humphrey Nonswa, Undi Gentian Fensti Knees, Livia Nonswa, Wolkencap is on him, frowned, injuriant. He would eavesdrip, where it moose at hand, where it din of bottles in the far ear, murk his veils are darkling, with lip with 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 lips she lippet to him all the time to thirch and thou and thou. She ho she ha to la. Herr Fluke, if he could bad twig her, impalpabant he appears. The sound waves of his are his buffeteers. They tromp him with their trumps. The wavy of Rory and the wave of Hushit and the wave of ha ha hard, on the wave of never heed them horse a slugger and list of mine. Landloused by his neighbor mistress, and perpetrified in his offspring, sabbies and suckers, the moaning pipers could tell him to his face back, the louthly one whose lobe we are devoters of, how but for his hold halibut, or her to her pooter puff, the lip a lip, one whose live we drink at, how biff for her titty wink of a windfall, our breed, ugh, our breed and washer givers, there would not be a holy spire in the town, nor a vestal flouting on the dock, nay to make plain avowals, nor you nor an I to play cash and nova nilbud by swamplight, nor a tool o tall at all, and nutty hint to the convenience. He dug in and dug out by the skill of his till for himself and all belonging to him, and he sweated his crew beneath the auspice for the living, and he earned the dead. That dragon volant, and he made louse for us, and delivered to us to bold weebles amain, that mighty liberator, Unfruchicta Oruwukru, and began he did, our ancestor most worshipful, till he thought of a better one in his widower's house, with the blush mantle upon him from ear's end to ear's end, and would again could whispering grassies wake him, and may again when the fiery bird Decembers, and will again, if so be soothed by elder, to his youngsters shall be sad. Have you wines for my wedding? Did you bring bride and bedding? Will you whoop for my deading? Is a wake? A squid bongum and a muckadul. Did you drink me door now? Now be easy, good Mr. Finnemore, sir, and take your leisure like a god on pension, and don't be walking abroad. Sure, you'd only lose yourself in Heliopolis, now the way your roads in Capalavister are the winding after the cavalry, the Northumbrian, and the Five Sparrow, and the Wadling's Raid, and the Barmore, and wet your feet, maybe with the foggy dews abroad, meeting some sick old bankrupt of Cotterick's. Or the Cotterick's donkey with the shoe hanging, clan catachancata, or a slut snoring with an impure infant on a bench. The twould turn you against life, so 'twould. And the weather's that mean too. Apart from Devlin, as hard as Nugent knew, to leave the Queen to angle some one Luchiere, than its neighborhood unfranchisable fields. But let your ghost have no grievance. You better off, sir, where you are, prime sign in the full of your dress, blood eagle waistcoat and all, remembering your shapes and sizes on the pillow of your baby curls under your sycamore by the keld water where the Tories clay will scare the varmints and have all you want, pouch, gloves, flask, bricket, kerchief, ring, and ambrola, the whole treasure of the pyre, in the land of souls with Homan and Bronbrock and Pole Oak Lonan and Nubbock Nosler, no, no Bucket Nosler, and the Genghis Khan, and we'll be coming here, the Umber players, to rake your gravel and bringing you presents, won't we, Finians? And it isn't our spittle we'll stint you of, is it, druids? Not shafty little imagettes, penny dirts, and dodgy mayes you buy in the sooty stores, but offering of the field. Muladores, the Dr. Faraday, the medicine man, taught to gooden you. Poppy Pap's a passport out. And honey is the holiest thing that ever was. Hive, comb, and earwax, the food for glory. Mind you keep the pot or your nectar cup may yield too light. And some goat's milk, sir, like the maid used to bring you. Your fame is spreading like Basilico's ointment since the Finton Lailers piped you over border, and there's whole households beyond the Bothnians, and they calling names after you. The men here's always talking of you sitting around on the pig's cheeks under the sacred roof tree, over the bowls of memory where every hollow holds a hallow, with a pledge to the drings in the salmon house, and admiring to our super shield egg, where the palm sweat on high is the mark of your monument. All the toothpicks ever Aranesians chewed on are chips chipped from that battery block. If you were bowed and solid and soiled and let down itself from the owner of the load, it was that paddy planters might pack up a plenty, and when you were undone in every point for the lapse of goddesses, you showed our labor lasses how to free was easy. The game old gun they do be saying, skull, and was a planter for you, a spicer them all, begog, but he was the G.O.G. He's Dudlagun now, and we're after finding the sores of his Seduk, but peace to his great limbs, the Budok. With the last league long rest of him, well, the million candled eye of Tuskar sweeps the Moylian man. Maine. There was never a warlord in Great Erin and Bretland, no nor in all Pike County like you, they say. No, nor a king, or nor an ard king, bung king, sung king, or hung king. That you could fall in Elm Street 12 urchins couldn't ring round, and hoist high the stone that Liam felled. Who but a McCulligmore, the rays of the fortunes and the fawny men of the funeral to compass our cause? If you was Hoggle Bully itself, and most thrifty like you was taking waters, still what all were you like to lay the cable, or who as the batter could better your grace? Mick Magnus Macaulay can take you off to the pure perfection, and Leatherbags Reynolds tries your shuffle and cut. But as Hopkins and Hopkins puts it, you're the pale eggy naggy and a kiss to tilly up. Because on the journey all boogle off since he went Jerusalem faring in Arcia Manor. You had a game your cocked and Pete, Jake, or Martin, and your archgoose of geese stubbled for All Angels' Day. So may the priest of seven worms and scalding tay boil, Papa Restray, come never near you as your hair grows weeder beside the lifey that's in heaven. Hep hep hurrah there. Hero, 7 times there too we salute you. The whole bag of kits, falcon plumes, and jackboots and clotted is where you flung them that time. Your heart is in the system of the she-wolf, and your crusted head is in the tropic of Capricorn. Cup, 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 Capricorn. Your feet are in the cloister of Virgo. Your Olala is in the region of Saus, and that's as sure as you were born. Your Shuktik swell, and that there Texan is now linen. The lonesome roam to Lafayette is ended. Drop in your tracks, babe, be not unrested. The head bodily watcher, the temple of his head. Tootland Cowman, saith, I know thee, Metherjar, I know thee, salvation boat, where we have performed upon thee, thou abomination, abomination, who comest without, who comest without, who comest ever without being invoked, whose coming is unknown. All the things which the company of the presenters and of the Gubernia of Christ Patrick's ordered concerning thee in the matter work of thy tombing. How the shipmen steep well, everything's going on the same, so it appeals to all of us in the homestead here. Coughings all over the sanctuary. Bad scrant to be Aunt Florenza. The horn for breakfast. Wenagong for lunch and dinner time. As popular as when Belly the First was king and his members met in the Diet of Man. The same shop slop in the window. Jacob's letter crackers and Dr. Tipple's Vicoco and the Edwards dissipated soup beside Mother Siegel's syrup. Meat took a drop when Rayleigh Parsons failed. Coal's short, but we've plenty of bog in the yard, and barley's up again, begrain to it. The lads is attending school in a since regular, sir, spelling B's and E's with half and tansy, and turning out tables by multiplication. all for the books and never pegging smashers after Tom Bow Glassarse or Timmy the Tosser. 'Tis really the truth, no isn't it, Roman Patriarchs? You were the double-jointed janitor the morning they were delivered, and you'll be a grandfer yet, either entirely when the right hand seizes what the love arm knows. Kevin's just a dote with his cherub cheek, chalking ogres on walls, and his little lamp and school belt and bag of nicks playing postman's knock around the diggings, and if the seep were milk, you could leave his old by his eye, but low's sake, the devil does be in the nerps of a Jerry sometimes, the Tarranton played boy, making and costive income out of the last of his lavings and writing, a blue streak over his birthday shirt, Hetty Jane's a child of Mary. She'll be coming for the shooter chooser, and her white of gold with a touch of ivy and to rekindle the flame of Felix Day. But Essie Shanahan has let down her skirts. You remember Essie in our Luna's convent? They called her Holly Mary when Holly Mary. Her lips were so rudy. What the Holly Mary? Her lips were so rudy berry and paid a bell when the Red Miners riots were on about her. Were I a clerk designate to the Williams Woods manufacturers, I'd post her those powders on every jam in the town. She's making her rep at Lanner's twice and nightly, with the tabarine tam-tammers of the whirly gig McGee's. No! Whirly gig McGee's. Okay. Beats that to chooch a flat, to dilate your heart to go. Easy now, you decent man, with your knees and lie quiet and repose your honor's lordship. Oldham here, Ezekiel Einers, and may God strengthen you. It's our warm spirits, boys, he's sporing. Demetrius O'Flanagan, cork that cure for the Clancartus. You swamped enough since Portobello to float the Pomeroy. Fetch me here, Pat Coy, and fetch me who Pam Yates. Be neither against the Ramowich. Here's Lumbos, where Misty Swadlum, where Mrs. Lodge none, where Mistress Porkine on, oh sleepy so be yet. Let's make sure it's still recording. Beep, 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 beep. Um, and repose your honor. Where Mistress Swadlum, where Mrs. Lodge none, where Mysteries Porkine on, oh sleepy so be yet. I've an eye on queer Ban and the old Kate and the butter, trust me. She'll do no juggly wuggly with her war souvenir postcards to help to build me muriel tippers. I'll trip your traps. Assure there. And we put on your clock again, sir, for you. Did or didn't we, Sheriff Stutterers? So you won't be a stump up to dump a dump. So you won't be up a stump entirely. Nor, said your eminence, the stern wheel's crawling strong. I've seen your Mrs. I gotta respond to a text real quick. Nor shed your remnants. The stern wheel's crawling strong. I seen your missus in the hall, like the queen of air. Arrah, it's herself that's fine too. Don't be talking. Shirk sends your story on Harry Chap, long and me Harry Chap, starting grass, womanly plethy good trout. Shakes hands. Dibble a hay fork's wrong with her, only her legs sagged. Salig. Bold Tib does be yawning and smirking, cat's hours on the Palox's woolly round tabra cushion, watching her sewing a dream together. The tailor's daughter stitched to her last. Or while waiting for winter to fire the enchantment, decoying more nesters to fall down the flue. It's an avalanche that blows new pussy food. Okay. If you only were there to explain the meaning, best of men, and talk to her nice of gilt and silver, the lips would moisten once again. As when you drove with her to Findrinny Fair. What with reins here and ribbons there, all your hands were employed, so she never knew she was on land, or I'd see her soar up through the blue like our winger's bride. She was flirtsome then, and she's fluttersome yet. She can second a song and adores a scandal when the last post's gone by. Fond of a concertina in Paris passing when she's had her 40 winks for supper, after Cannacannon and Abley Dimpling, and is into and is in her Merlin chair assotted, reading her Evening World. To see is it smarts, full lengths or swaggers, news, all the news, death a leopard, kills fella and fez, angry scenes at Stormount, still a star with her lucky and going ways. Opportunity fair with the China floods, and we hear those rosy rumors. Ding Tams, he knows about all same Harry chap. She's seeking her way, a chuckle, and out of the silver serial story, the loave of Sascar en Provence, freely adapted to the Norwegian's wave. There'll be bluebells blowing and salty sepulchres the night she signs her final tear. The end. But that's a world a ways away. Ah, yeah, I know. Till track lost time, no silver ash or switches for that one. What flattering candles flare, Anastasies, how are you? Were the waste and the noblest, says Adamson, son. The would pay actioneers. Her hair's as brown as ever it was, and wivy and wavy, repose you now fin no more. For be that same sake substitute of a hooky salmon, there's already a big rody ram at random on the premises of his haunt of the hungered Bortles, as it is told me, shop illicit, flourishing like a Lord Major or a boy bum, lifting flop a deadlop, a loose, to lee but lifting a bend branch a yard along, Ivoah! On the breezy side, for show'em! The height of Brewster's chimney and as broad below as Phineas Barnum, hump, humping his share of the shoulders, and sinking on him he's such a grandfather, with a pocked wife and pickle that's a fly fire and three nice little clinkers, two twiling bugs and one midget pusil. And either he cursed and recursed and was ever seen doing what your 4 footlers saw, or he was never done seeing what you cool pigeons know. Weep the clouds a bone for smile down witnesses, and that'll do about the very he's and fresh lees, frelishies. Though ye sit, fibble it to the Zephyroth and art to zoom it around the heavens forever. Creator he was created for his creatured ones of creation, white monotoid, red theocrat, and all was pink prophets coalescing. Very much so, but however, 'twas 'tis sure for one thing, which Sheriff Torg voucher fors and Mapkick makes put out, that the man, whom the Chipner, Esquire, overseen as we thought him, yet worthy of the name, came at a time-colored place where we live in our parochial firmament one side another. With a bum rush in the hull of the wherry, the twin-turbine Dow, the Bay of Nibbling, the archipelago's first visiting schooner for a wicked low pragon waxen wench for a proud figurehead, the Dead Sea Dugong up dripping from his depths and had been repreaching himself like a fishmommer these silky 10 years ever since she be by his side at Aid, growing whorish under his turban and changing cane sugar into cellulose starch. That says to him, as also that, but in the buckle the buckle hood, he bloats about with an dib when inebriated. Our old offender was a humile commune and insectuous from his nature, which you may gauge after the by-names was put under him in lashings of languages, hard in suit, and praises being totally leading him, and hams him of him shem that he sober serious, he is and no counter he who will be ultimately responsible for the hubbub caused in Edinburgh. Is that a chapter? Hmm. I can't read this in one take. Oh, I I would. Oh, dude, I'd be here for like 10 hours. I can't do this in one take. Wait, it's been an hour to get through 30 pages. What is? What is? What is? It would take 21 hours at the pace I'm going at. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm not doing this in one take. Um. Are there chapters? All right, let's get to an even 40 pages. Now, to forbe to forbear for ever so little of Irish trees and lilio rangans, concerning the genesis of Harold or Humphrey Chimpton's occupational agnomen, we are the backup person names brought him our period. Of course, just when Eno stocked out traps, and discarding once for all those theories from older sources which link him back with such pivotal ancestors as the Glews, the Gravies, the Northeast, the Anchors, and the Airwickers of Saddlesem and 100 of manhood, or proclaim them off sprouting the makings of they would break and take and settle them in Eric or Derrick. The best authenticated version, the Dumlat, read the reading of Hofed Ben Adar, has it that it was this way. We are told, in the beginning it came to pass, that, like cabbaging, Cincinnatus, the grand old gardener, was saving daylight under his redwood tree one sultry Sabbath afternoon. Hag-Chivitassy eve in prayerful paradise, paced by following his plow for Roodles in the rear regarding the mob house, ye old marine hotel, when royalty was announced by Runner to have been pleased by to have halted itself on the high road along with a leisure-loving dog fox had cast followed also at walking pace by a lady pack of cocker spaniels, forgetful of all save his vassal's plain fealty to the ethnarch Humphrey or Harold, stayed not to yoke or saddle, but stumbled out hot-faced as he was, his sweatful bandana loose from his pocket coat. Hasting to the four cords of his publican topi, Sir Kingle stole a scarf and plaid, plus fours, puttees, and bulldog boots, ruddled cinnabar with flagrant marl, jingling his turnpike keys, and bearing aloft amid the fixed pikes of the hunting party a high perch atop of which the flower pot was fixed earthside hoist with care. On his majesty, who was often fain to be noticeably long-sighted from green youth, and had been meaning to inquire what in fact had caused yon causeway to be thus potholed, asking substitutionally to be put wise as to whether paternoster and silver doctors were not now more fancied bait for lobster trapping. Honest blunt Harum Farreld answered in no uncertain tones very similarly with a fearless forehead. Naw, your maggers. Ah, we're just a cotchin on thun bluggy airwuggers. Our sailor king, who was drained a guglet of obvious at a male, gift both and Gorbin, upon this, ceasing to swallow, smiled most heartily beneath his walrus moustaches, and indulging a none too genial humor, which William the Conk, on the spindle side, had inherited with the hereditary Whitelock, some short-fingeredness from his great aunt Sophie, turned towards two of the retinue of gallow glasses, Michael, Eppling Lord of Leeks and Offaly, and the Jubilee Mayor of Drogheda, Elcock, the two scatterguns being Michael M. Manning, proto-syndic of Waterford, and an Italian excellency named Jubilee, according to a later version cited by the learned scholar Canavan of Can Make Noise. In either case, a triptychal religious family symbolizing puritas of doctrina, business per usuals in the perky patch of Hamlock, where the paddish pretties grow, and remarked Dilsey Dulcily, Holly Bones of St. Hubert, how our red brother of Porangrania would audibly fume did he know that we have Sir, Tr- for Sir Trusty Bailiwick, a turnpiker who is by turns a pike bailer no seldomer than an earwigger. For he ken John Pill with his court so grey, and his haunts in his house in the morning. One still hears that pebble-crusted laughter, tippy-tap cherry upon the roadside. Try the Lady Holmpatrick planted, and still one feels the immersive silence of the Gladstone ellegibelling. Have me outstayed born. Comes the question: Are these the facts of his nominagentalization, as recorded and accoladed in both or either of collateral Andrew Paul Murphic narratives? Are those their fata, which we read in Sibylline between the fas and the nefas? No dung on a road, and shall Nahomaya be our place like? Yeah, Malaki, our kingable Khan. We shall perhaps not so soon see. Pink punks that bail for Sikhs alias Alicents where conceptress with centaurs stay. Bear in mind, son of Okma, if so be you Mekveg in your midness, the man is mountain, and unto Changeth doth one ascend. Heave with his side the fallacy, as punical as Finnegan. Finnegan! Wake! that it was not the king himself, but his inseparable sisters, uncontrollable night talkers, skirts to rise with dun eyes, who afterwards, when the robbers shot up the socialites, came down into the world as amusers as were staged with Madame Solo as Rosa and Lily Misconget at the pantomime, the two pits patronised. Miliodor- Miliodorus and Galathy. The great fact emerges that after the historic date, all holographs so far exhumed and initialed by Humphrey bear the sigla HCE, and while he was only a long, always good Duke Humphrey for the Hungarian Hungerlean Spalpeens of Lucalizod and Chambers to his cronies, it was equally certainly a pleasant turn to the populace, which gave him a sense of those normative letters, the nickname "Here Comes Everybody." And imposing everybody he always indeed looked, constantly the same as an equal to himself, and magnificently well worthy of any and all such universalization. Every time he continually surveyed, amid vociferatings in front of "Except these few nutties," and "Take off that white hat," relieved with "Stop his grog," and "Put it in the log," and Lutz in his "Boss vocal boots." From good start to happy finish, the truly Catholic assemblage gathered together in that King Street house of satin, a lustre-like above floats, and footlights from their ash ball belts and ox kings unanimously applaud the inspirations of his lifetime and the hits of their careers. Mr. Washington Semper Kelly Zimmer Green Tours in a command performance by special request with the courteous permission for PS purposes, the home-dromed and liveth performance of Problem Passion play of the military running strong since creation. A royal divorce. Then, near the approach towards the summit of its climax, with ambitious interval band selections from the Bow Girl, the Lily, or the Bow Girl and the Lily, an old horsery show command knights from his vis, vice, vis, vice regal booth. His Barcelona is ceilinged, and there's his Barcelona is ceilinged. There's a cuckoo's pit less eminent than the residual hoods of Maccabee and Cullen, where a veritable Napoleon the Inf, our world stage practical joke piece, and retired Celtic comedy, Celtico, the Celtico comedian in his own wise, this folk's forefather, all of the time sat having the entirety of his house about him, with the invariable broad-streth kerchief cooling his whole neck, nape, and shoulder blades in a wardrobe panel tuxedo completely thrown back from a shirt well entitled "The Swallowed Wall." On every point, far and uh, starching the laundered claw hammers and marble-topped highboys of the pit stalls and early amphitheater. Peace was this. Look at the lamps. The cast was thus. See under the clock. Lady circle. Cloaks may be left. Pit promenade and parterre. Standing room only. Habituals conspicuously emergent. A baser meaning has been read into these characters, the literal sense of which decency can safely scarcely hint. It has been blurtingly brooded by certain wisecrackers, the stinks of Morbid are in the night plaza of the morning, that he suffered from a vile disease, asthma. Unmanner them. To such a suggestion, the one self-respecting answer is to affirm that there are certain statements which ought not to be, and one should like to hope to be able to add ought not to be allowed to be made. Nor have his detractors, who an imperfectly warm-blooded race, apparently conceive him as a great white caterpillar capable of any and every enormity in the calendar recorded to the discredit of the Duke and Kellic families, amended their case by insinuating that, alternatively, he lay at one time under the ludicrous imputation of annoying Welsh Fusiliers in the People's Park. Hi, hi, hi! Hawk, hawk, hawk! Fawn and Flora on the lee love that little old joke! Bars! Anyone who knew and loved. Excuse me. To anyone who knew and loved the Christ-likeness of the big, clean-minded giant H.C. Earwicker throughout his excellency, long vice-regal existence, the mere suggestion of him as a lust-sleuth nosing for trouble in a booby-trap rings particularly preposterous. Truth, beard on prophet, compels one to add that there is said to have been a quantum some case of the kind implicating, it is interdum believed, a quidem. If he did not exist, it would be necessary quoniam to invent him. About that time, stumbling around, dumbling in leaky sneakers with his dark record, was remained traumatically anonymous. But let me us hew him Abdullah Gamela Arkarsky. Gamela Gamelazarski was, it is stated, posted at Malone Post Malone posted at Malone at the instance of which of watch warriors of the Vigilance Committee, and years afterwards cries went even greater. Ibid, a commender of the frightful seemingly unto such were so instated, dropped heed, waiting his first of the month fruits, turned from that chop packed cabex alicubi on the old house for the charge hard, roast haddocks off Auckland Street. Lo, you blondie liar! Gup seen you in the market place, and she's what eaters are to fileth boys. There's a comfort of bash indeed in the homer of the mail. Slander let it in flattish, has never been able to convict our good and great and ordinary southern earwicker. That homogeneous man is a past author, called him of any graver impropriety that then advanced by some Woodwards or regarders, who did not dare deny to Somers that they had chin shed, chin tam, chin did that they consumed therein the soul and the corn of having behaved with ungentlemanly immodest opposite a pair of dainty maid servants in the spruce of rushy hollow wither, or so the gown, uh, 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 or so the two gown and pinners pleaded Dame Nature in all innocency had spontaneously and about the same hour of the eventide sent them both, but whose published combinations of silken lane testimonies were not dubiously pure, visibly divergent, as wept from wept, on minor points touching the intimate nature of this, a first offence in vert or venison, which was admittedly an incautious butt at its wildest or partial exposure, with such attenuating circumstances Garth and Gareth Green wear Soakman British Girling as an abnormal St. Swithin summer, and Jesse Russeron, a ripe occasion to provoke it. We can't do it without 'em. Wives, rush to the rescuers. Of man will till man will led is the lull. Lull? What? Jesuits arcadum. Villapleach, Valapluk, Fickup, or Fleshnelli El Mundo. Nov Zoliflin. If she's a Lilith, pull early. Pauline, allow, and Mailer's abushed. Keep black, keep black. Guiltness of much laid to him, he was clearly, for once at least, he clearly expressed himself as being with still a trace of his erstwhile burr, and hence it had been received of us that it is true. They tell the story, an amalgam, as absorbing as calcium chlorides and hydrophobe sponges can make it. How one happy, go gusty, Ides of April morning, the anniversary, as it fell out, of his first assumption of his birthday suit and rights of the pertinence to the confusioning of human races, ages and ages after the alleged misdemeanor when the triad feet friend uh, of all creation, Tigerwood Roadstaff to his stay, was billowing across the wide expanse of our greatest park in his couch choke kepi and great belt and hide sacks and his blown funk's fustian and Ironside's jackboots and begaffet gaiters and his rubberized Inverness. He met a cad with a pipe. The latter, the luciferant, not the Oriolate, who the odds are is still berating Dagabout, and the same straw bammer carrying his overgoat under his shoulder, seepshide out, so as to look like a compright gentleman, and signing the pledge as gaily as you please, hardly accosted him with, "Get a stout tool and Jumi dinner, Azulfin." I nice how do you do in pool black at the time of our old dazers still tremblingly recall. To ask could he tell him how much a clock it was that the clock struck, had he any idea by cock's luck, as his watch was Bradis. Estancy was clearly to be evitated, execration as cleverly to be homisoid. The earwicker of that spurring instant, realizing on fundamental liberal principles the supreme importance nexally and noxally of physical life, the nearest helper lay being Ping Ping Ko Sempitix Day and the Fenian Rising, and unwishful as he felt of being hurled into eternity right then, plugged by a soft-nosed bullet from the sap, halted, quick on the draw, and replying that he was feeling tip-staff, Q produced from his gun pocket his Jurgensen shrapnel Waterbury, ours by communionism, his by is used to capture. But on the same stroke, hearing above the skirling of harsh mother East Old Fox Goodman, the bellmaster over the waste to the south, at a work upon the 10-ton tonuant thunderous tenor toller in the speckled church, Conuan's call, told the inquiring kidder, by Jehovah, it was 12 of them sidereal and tankard time, adding, but all, as he bended deeply with smoked sardinish breath to give more fondness to the copper stick he presented, that the seams in some confusion with the chapstick ginger, which, as being of sours, acids, salts, sweets, and bitters compounded, we know him to have used as cha-cha for bone, muscle, blood, flesh, and vim vital, that whereas the accusation against him had been made, what was known in high quarters as was stood stated in Morgansport by a creature in human form who was quite beneath par and several degrees lower than your triple hydrid snake. Is there a okay? I'll read to the end of this page here. Um, yeah, triple hydrid snake. In greater support of his word, its quaint anticipation of a famous phrase has been reconstructed out of an oral style into the verbal for all time with ritual rhythmics and queritary quietude in twosament stuck from successive accounts by Noah Webster in the redaction known as the sayings attributive of H.C. Earwicker, prize on shillings, postlights free, the flaxen Gygus? Huh? Tapped his chronometra, chronometrum drum, and now standing full erect above the ambidjacent floodplain, scene of it happening, with one Berlin gauntlet chop stuck in the hag of his elbow by ancient sign lore, his gesture meaning pointed at an angle of 32 degrees towards his Duc de Furs overgrown milestone as fell into his gauge, and after Randy present pause, averred with solemn emotions fire, shish shake co-comrade me only, them 5 ones, he is equal combat. I have one straight. Hence mine a nationwide hotel and creamery establishments, which for the honors of our mutual daughters credit me. I am willing to take my stand, sir, upon the monument that sign of our woo redemption, any hygienic day to this hour, and to make my oath to my sin finners, even if I get life for it upon the open Bible and before the great taskmasters, I lift my hat, and in the presence of the deity itself, and well of Bishop and of Mrs. Minchin of High Church of England, and of us all such have said, my immediate with dwellers, and of every living so whole in every corner wheresoever of this globe in general, which useth of my British to my backbone tongue, and commutative justice, that there is not one tittle of truth. Allow me to tell you, in that purest of fib fab fabrications. All right, he will return. Dude, I can't name a single character. I don't. What is this book even about?